Hey guys, today I'll be showing you how to back up your files on a Synology NAS using AhsayOBM. So, if you want to learn how to back up your files, folders or photos and videos, docs, PDF files, or whatever file you want on a Synology NAS, then keep watching. To start with, click the AhsayOBM icon on the Synology desktop. This will open the AhsayOBM window. Enter your credentials to access your account. Then click OK. As you can see, you're now on the home screen of AhsayOBM. But before being able to do a backup job, you'll need to create a backup set first. So click on Backup Sets. Then click the plus sign. You can rename your backup set or you can use the default name provided. Then click Next. Now it's time to select folders or files you aim to back up. You can tick off the Show Files checkbox so files will appear. In this way, you can also select specific files instead of selecting a folder. In my case, I'm selecting the main folder AhsayList for this backup set. So this automatically selects all the files within this folder such as PDF file, photos, videos, audio files, Excel file, etc. for backup. And this also includes all the subfolders and the files within these subfolders. Unless you want to exclude some, you're free to unselect whatever folder or file you want. After selecting files and/or folders, click Next. Click on the switch to turn on Scheduled Backup. Click on the plus sign to add a new schedule for your backup set, so that the files and folders you have selected are automatically backed up. This is very important, as a regular scheduled backup will minimize data loss, ensuring that you can always recover the most updated version of your files. You can use the default schedule name, but for this example, I will name it as Daily Backup at 1800. Next, choose from the different types of backup schedules, such as daily, weekly, monthly, or custom. In this example, we will select a daily backup to run at 1800 hours. There are two options to choose from when you want to stop a backup job. One is the default setting until full backup completed, which means the backup job will only stop running when all selected files or folders or any subsequent changes are completely backed up regardless of how long it takes. The other option will stop the backup job after a certain number from 1 to 24 hours, even if the backup of your files or folders is not complete. For our example, we will use the default setting until full backup completed to ensure that all the latest changes to our files and folders are fully backed up every day. For the run retention policy after backup setting, the best practice is to have it enabled. When this setting is turned on, AhsayOBM will permanently and immediately delete files and folders in the retention area that have exceeded the retention period to better manage the backup storage quota after each backup job. We will be talking more about retention policy later on. Click OK. Then click Next to continue. For the destination, the default backup mode is sequential as we're only using one storage destination, which is Ahsay Drive. So, we will stick with the default setting. However, if we were to use multiple storage destinations, for example, both Ahsay Drive and local map removable, it is recommended to switch your backup mode to concurrent. To allow AhsayOBM to back up your data to both destinations simultaneously, this approach helps reduce the overall backup time, which minimizes any performance impact to the Synology NAS device. Click the plus sign to add a storage destination. As Ahsay Drive is already selected, Click OK, then Next to continue. Now for encryption, we will use the default setting, which is the most secured option, as it uses AES 256-bit encryption technology and a randomly generated encryption key made up of 44 alphanumeric characters. Take note, once you have selected the encryption settings and your backup set is created, it cannot be changed afterwards. If you need to change the encryption settings, then a new backup set must be created. Your data will have to be backed up again from scratch. Click Save to continue. It is very important to keep a copy of your encryption key before clicking Confirm. If you forget or lose your encryption key, you will lose the ability to access and restore your backup data. Click Confirm to continue. When the backup set is successfully created, you will see this confirmation page. You now have the option to back up your files right away by clicking Backup Now, or wait for the scheduled backup to start. Let's close this window and go back to the backup sets page. Select the backup set that you have just created. We're going to have a quick look at some of the other important settings on our file backup set, such as deduplication, temporary directory, and retention policy. Deduplication is enabled by default, and when it is turned on, it removes all duplicate data blocks from your backup. The default settings are the optimal settings for deduplication and will result in up to 50% savings in storage space and costs for file backups. It will also reduce network bandwidth usage and will allow for faster backups. Apart from deduplication, there are also other features that you have to know about. Click Others, and you'll see the retention policy and temporary directory. Every time AhsayOBM runs a backup job, any previously backed up files or folders that are subsequently modified or deleted on a Synology NAS device is moved to the retention area where they can still be restored. The retention policy determines how long these deleted or modified files or folders are stored in the retention area before they are permanently removed. There is only one retention policy option for file backup sets on a Synology NAS device. Simple, where the retained files are removed after a specified number of days or backup jobs. The default retention policy setting is 7 days. Increasing the duration of your retention policy increases the likelihood of recovering older versions of deleted or modified files and folders. The trade-off is increased storage usage and costs. For our example, we will be using the default setting. While for the temporary directory, you can see that the default location is in a local destination. This is the best practice, as using a network drive could affect the backup and restore performance. The remove temporary files after backup is enabled by default in order to keep the temporary drive clear. Now that you have learned a bit more about the other important backup settings and how to adjust them based on your preferences, it's time to back up your files. As there were no changes made for this backup set, click Cancel to close this window. Then, click Close. From the AhsayOBM home screen, select Backup. Then click the backup set that you have just created. Since this is the first backup job, no data exists in the retention area, so there's no need to enable Run Retention Policy after backup. However, you should not forget to enable it in future backups. Click Backup to continue. Once done, you'll see under the Load tab that the backup has been completed successfully. And that's how you create a file backup on a Synology NAS using AhsayOBM. With Ahsay, your data is fully protected, armed with the latest technology like immutable backups, where your backup data will never be encrypted, deleted, or modified for total protection against hackers and ransomware. Strong AES 256-bit data encryption ensures your data is encrypted during transit and when your data is stored to prevent anyone from reading your data without your permission. Two-factor authentication to prevent anyone from accessing your data without your permission. Multi-destination backups to store your backup data in more than one storage destination and across many geographical regions for maximum protection against natural disasters, fire, or conflicts. And data deduplication, a feature that removes duplicate copies of data that helps you save up to 90% of your storage space, with significant savings on your storage costs as well as much faster backups. That's why you should choose Ahsay. Your data is safe with us.